Hey, gang, there are so many important issues to discuss in today's political, cultural, and economic climate, and I can't discuss them all here. In fact, YouTube and big tech won't let me talk about it all here. And that's why I have exclusive, uncensored live streams on Monday nights to cover everything. On Monday nights, I share all my thoughts and answer your questions in an in-depth, casual format that prepares you for this upcoming election with the truth. Today, I want to show you a quick clip from a recent stream that I hope will help you think clearly about these important issues, as well as encourage you to join our movement. Join an upcoming exclusive live stream, and I'll answer your questions by clicking the link in the description below and joining our community of courageous patriots building a parallel economy. I look forward to seeing you over there.
If you can hear me right, there's so much to talk about. Obviously, we were traveling last week, and when we were traveling, that's really when everything went down in Israel. So we really haven't been able to talk about this in Insiders yet. Obviously, you've talked about it in your videos, but what's your assessment overall? There's a question here from Maximilian. We can just jump right in, but
yeah, sure.
Pardon me, I had it right here, and now we're gone. But what is your big picture understanding and explaining what's happening in Israel, and how could people possibly be supporting Palestine? It just is hard to wrap our minds around.
Yes, especially after the ISIS-like tactics that we saw. It's very that were so shocking. And you know what's the report now? Is it 30 Americans that were killed in that initial terrorist attack? That's basically what it was. Okay. Here's big picture, the sense I'm making of things, to try to consolidate all the complexities there. So first and foremost, what's happening between Israelis and Hamas, I think, is best understood as just really, when all is said and done, a classic blood feud. Now, you could biblically, right, we could take this all the way back to Isaac and Ishmael, okay? But for practical purposes today, by blood feud, I am not, I think I mentioned this in the video, I'm not in any way trying to morally equivocate one side with the other. That's often what happens with a Hatfield and McCoy kind of feud. I'm not trying to do that. It's simply a recognition that we are dealing with a region marked by a cycle of retaliatory violence, with one ethnic people group seeking blood vengeance on another ethnic people group. And again, biblically, this goes all the way back to, blood avengers and cities of refuge and all this sort of stuff. I mean, this has got thousands of years of history to it. So that's one thing that's happening here. Obviously, this is not, I mean, when Netanyahu got on television, basically said, we're going to end Hamas. In effect, what he was saying is this blood feud comes to an end. It's not going to come to an end. We know that. It hasn't in thousands of years. But what he basically is saying, at least one wing of this blood feud is never going to be able to launch those horrible attacks against us again. But that's what this, I think, is, and why it keeps recurring. What's exacerbating this blood feud is what we all know to be re-territorialization. Okay? And re-territorialization, as you guys know, is a process where, as the globalist world wanes and begins to crack and shard apart and fall apart all across the world, more and more populations are reclaiming their cultural space, and space, region, ethnicity, those become very, very important frames of reference now. And what more and more populations are doing is they're beginning to take action to protect that space from any remaining vestiges of the radically anti-cultural dynamics of transnational globalization. So that's why I point out some parallels of what's happening in the Middle East to what's happening in the Sahel region in Africa, where you're seeing nations like Gabon and Niger and Burkina Faso and Guinea and Mali. I mean, all very successful coups. And what are they doing? They're expelling. They were all former French colonies. They're expelling any and all last vestiges of French colonialism inside their borders. But it's also working the other way. Some people call this decolonization, and there's a decolonizing aspect to it. But reterritorialization is bigger than that, because Europeans now are calling for the expulsion of Muslim influence on their continent, particularly in France right now, and of all people, Emmanuel Macron coming out and saying, you don't belong here. I mean, we saw the same thing in Poland. We saw the same thing in Hungary. As a matter of fact, Slovakia just put in their former prime minister, Fico, just I forget how, I think you pronounce it Fico or Fico. I forget how, Fico, but it's pronounced like his last name. I think it's Fico, who's radically anti-immigrant and particularly anti-Muslim immigrant. So it's not simply decolonization. It's working the other way around. It's pushing out the foreigner. It's pushing out the one who doesn't belong in their region and is threatening the region. So all over the world, we're seeing region being reclaimed. Region is being reclaimed. So you've got this blood feud, and then you've got these two groups of people who see a single region as their own. And as part of that reclamation, they're batting heads against each other.
I just have to tell you about the insane new deals on these incredible Trump half-dollar coins. For a limited time, you can get these incredible collectible half dollars for just a quarter of their original price. Each coin is 100% genuine JFK half dollar, but of course with Trump on it. And it comes with a certificate of authenticity, letting you know it's one of a limited set. They're all made right here in the USA, and they make a perfect gift for the MAGA patriots in your life. The energy is rising for 2024, so show your support for the greatest political comeback in history today at the link in the description down below. Get your Trump half dollar right now.
Hamas, again, for right or for wrong, it's just trying to make sense of it. Hamas sees Israel as illegal occupiers. So as you could see, for them, that justifies some pretty horrific tactics. We've talked about that even in our context, the violation of politically correct norms seems to justify some pretty horrific violence. So I like to point out, when Serena Williams was lost the U.S. Open to that Japanese player a few years back, Japanese-American player, who turned out to be pretty woke herself, because the ref officiating the game penalized her and cost her a point, and then actually one of the games, and then she dropped the entire set because she was getting coaching from her coach in the box, which you're not allowed to do. She freaked out. She couldn't handle herself. She freaked out. She got so upset, verbally violent at the referee, and she threw the game. And then at the press conference, when asked what happened, she said, I was standing up for women's rights, because if that was a men's tournament, that umpire would never have done it. And the reporters there giving her standing ovation. Billie Jean King tweeted a very supportive tweet. And what that taught me was, when politically correct norms are violated, you're allowed to be violent. Now, she wasn't physically violent, but she was verbally, horrifically violent towards that umpire. And of course, the BLM riots in 2020, and the apologists for them told us, that you oppress a people for long enough, they're going to lash out. So that's where the sentiments are coming for Hamas and the Palestinians. Again, I'm not saying it's right. That's when you violate politically correct norms. The West believes you're allowed to be violent. Now, are you allowed to be ISIS? I mean, does this violence have any line to it? Apparently not. So that's where you're seeing a very interesting civil war blow up within the left. One of the fallouts from this is now you've had some pro-Hamas professors, students, media people like Mehdi Hassan of MSNBC getting, in effect, canceled by much more pro-Israeli sentiments that have more of the political power. And so that's a very fascinating thing. Now the media is all worried about cancel culture because it's coming for the left. So I think it's a blood feud. I think it's a blood feud that's being exacerbated by re-territorialization. And then I think the third frame of reference we have to understand is the West and the rest see the solution differently. There's two solutions proposed, a one-state solution and a two-state solution. Everyone gave credence to the two-state solution. But over the last decade, as Israel's hardened and become more and more nationalist, populist, ultra-Orthodox in its politics, the left is basically dead in Israel. It's totally nationalist, populist. The West has recognized that the two-state solution isn't going to happen. The two-state solution would give the Palestinians their own sovereign nation. It would return to them the land that Israel annexed back in 1967 after the Six-Day War, such as Gaza, West Bank, and East Jerusalem. And that Eastern Jerusalem would serve as the capital of Palestine. So the two nations would more or less, they would share a capital, Eastern Jerusalem and Western Jerusalem to Israel. The one-state solution is that Israel keeps the land it annexed post-1967, and Palestine, for lack of a better term, Palestine in effect is consigned to a province within Israel, something like Quebec in Canada, Catalonia in Spain, or something akin to that. The West has basically made its peace, it looks like, with the one-state solution. However, the rest, 85% of the world's population, has not. And they still see a two-state solution as the only solution. That's Russia, that's India, that's China, that's the whole of the Islamic world and the like. And so what we have to recognize is that the aggressiveness, dare I say it, the Ben Shapiro sort of like aggressiveness into Gaza now. And again, I get it. Believe me. I mean, I saw those images last Saturday. We were in, Hannah was mentioning, we were in Texas at the time. And I had to immediately do a video on that. It was pretty horrific stuff. I saw the images. I get it. Blood feuds rage. I get it. So turning Gaza into a parking lot, I get the sentiments. But the rest of the world, especially now after this bombing of the Baptist hospital in Gaza, the rest of the world is not signed up for that. Yes, Israel has a right to retaliate and respond, but it has to be measured. You can't target civilians. Two wrongs don't make a right. Blah blah blah. And so this has the potential of making the rest of the world very upset. And they're already pushing back against Israel. They already think Israel's gone too far in turning Gaza into a parking lot, because they believe that is the potential sovereign nation. Again, that's this sort of re-territorialization that they're recognizing for the Palestinians, for right or for wrong. Those are just the dynamics. And then the fourth level, so you've got the blood feud, you've got re-territorialization, you've got the two-state solutions where the West and the rest come on different sides of that. And then the final one, I think, is you do have some serious other regional players that can easily get involved. Egypt sending humanitarian aid, Egyptian humanitarian aid workers, I believe, have already gotten caught in the crossfire and been killed. So that puts tremendous pressure on the Egyptian government to respond. You've got Hezbollah Egypt to the south. You've got Hezbollah in Lebanon to the north. They've already said if you go too far into Gaza, we're going to respond. Then Hezbollah is very much connected with Iran. They're both Shiite Muslim political forces. So Iran has already said you go too far. You attack Hezbollah, you attack us. So as you can see, this is a very, very sensitive area and of the world, and it could easily explode and become totally uncontained. That's basically what I'm seeing. That's that's the 4-level frame by which I'm understanding, and there might be a fifth, and that is how the world interprets this bombing of the hospital. We really don't know what actually happened. Israel is actually blaming Hezbollah for it because they're saying Hezbollah was fighters were held up in the hospital and their own weaponry mistakenly exploded. We don't know. Again, in the fog of war, it seems to be it's more propaganda than anything. So that triumphs. So that's why with Russia and Ukraine, I've tried to consistently present to you the facts as I understood them, breaking through so much the propaganda that surrounded that continues to surround that very, very serious theater there. And here with the bombing of the hospital, we do have the potential, the whole Islamic world rising up against Israel. So we have to be very, very careful. Here again, it just doesn't matter actually what happened. It's just the perception of what happened. So there you go. I think you deserved a very full answer with them. Sorry to take up. Well, obviously we'll go beyond because I came late, but I think it's important to have those frames of reference. We can develop any one of them that you want.
I hope you enjoyed that clip of my Monday night Insiders Club live stream. Join us live next week by clicking on the link in the description below and joining the coalition of patriots worldwide building a parallel economy to return to our roots of faith, family, and freedom. Click below right now.